Again, you are now listening to the Paul McGUIRE Report. This is Paul McGUIRE. Let's get into it more. Okay, so what happened back then? Jesus Christ gave us a heads up regarding the time period we're in now, the signs of the times. One of the primary signs of the times, according to Jesus Christ, is this. When Jesus Christ said to his disciples, "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man." Well, what happened in the days of Noah? We know what happened. There was ultra-violence, hyper-violence, wickedness of all kinds. The whole social structure was crumbling through violence and evil and darkness. We got that. Most of us have that anyway. We understand that dynamic. But it went further than that. The trigger event, God's trigger event that caused the flood judgment of Noah, was this. The biggest sin that mankind committed was this. It was when the fallen angels mated with human females and produced a hybrid race by intermingling the species. The DNA of fallen angels, or demon DNA, if you will, was intermingled with human female DNA, thus producing a hybrid race. A hybrid race of non-human creatures, non-human entities, a hybrid race of biological entities that were no longer authentically human. These biological entities had the fallen angel DNA. And there were all kinds of proofs, biological. There were numerous biological and genetic markers that proved that these new species of beings were living on planet Earth. First and foremost, the babies born to the human females with human female DNA who mated with the fallen angels, they had genetic and physical attributes like they were referred to as the giants of old. So that there was a large percentage of giants among the male births by human females. Now normally human females didn't produce this massive increase of giants. This was a result of what happened specifically when human females mated with fallen angels. One of the main attributes among many was that they were a race of giants. So that's why when God was speaking to Joshua and Caleb regarding going into the land of Canaan, which was filled with Canaanites, what that entailed was the land of Canaan was jam-packed with giants, the giants of old. And the reason it was packed with giants, the giants of old, is because the fallen angels had desires towards human females and were mating with human females and producing this Nephilim-Rephaim hybrid race, which had among its different unique characteristics and a massive increase of giants. Male giants were born that were very, very much larger than human males. When you look at all the tribes and the peoples in the land of Canaan, the Canaanites, when God told Joshua and Caleb to go in and wipe out the Canaanites, it was for a very good reason. It wasn't a frivolous act by a psychotic, sociopathic God. You've heard that. That's a bunch of bull. God's not a sociopath. God is love. What happened was the people in the land of Canaan, and Canaan is really the promised land, except when it's called Canaan, it's because it's being occupied by the genetic giants. So Joshua and Caleb were assigned to go into the land of Canaan and slaughter all the giants of old. The giants of old that Joshua and Caleb were assigned by God to kill off. This was not done, like I said earlier, in some kind of spree of psychotic, sociopathic vengeance on the part of God. God's not a sociopath. God's not crazy. God is love, agape love. Conversely, The giants of old are the descendants of the demons, the descendants of Satan. We never should forget that. The giants of old that inhabited the land of Canaan had all these weird satanic attributes. So among the different horrible things they did in the land of Canaan is they regularly practiced ritual sacrifice by killing little baby boys, little baby girls, and children, and others. They would sacrifice them alive. They would slaughter them on the altars of Baal. Baal was the satanic god of the land of Canaan. It was the satanic god of the giants, Baal, as in Baal worshippers. So God had to purge the land of Baal worshippers because they were sacrificing their babies on altars, spilling the blood of babies. They were drinking the blood of little babies, and they were practicing cannibalism in their rituals. So they were eating the flesh of little babies and drinking the blood of babies in these demonic, satanic rituals in their worship of Baal, or their worship of Chemosh, which they say at the Bohemian Grove, well, they're just slaughtering baby dolls. Well, if they're just slaughtering baby dolls, why this gigantic ceremony? Why do you have the key leaders of industry, billionaire families, prime ministers, presidents, the world's elite? Why do the world's elite gather annually at the Bohemian Grove to ritually worship Chemosh or Baal? Why do they do that? Because you're looking at, if you have your spiritual eyes open, you're looking at a revealing. And the question has to be asked, is this a revealing of the secret worship and rituals that are going on? Is it a revealing? And I can't come to an absolute conclusion because I have never been there during a ritual. But the question has to be raised. And then Joshua and Caleb had to move into all areas of the land in Canaan and wipe out the giants of old, because the giants of old were cannibals, into ritual bloodletting of little children, drinking the blood, and demonic things of the highest level. Now, pay attention with me to this. There's been a lot of allegations that the elite in our world today are practicing similar rituals, that the people at the very highest level of the pyramidical flowchart chain of power are practicing similar rituals. There's accusations that the people who actually head up and control the New World Order, now called the Great Reset, are involved in this. Now, I want to be careful about what I say because I don't want to go beyond what can be proven. But I've read allegations of horrific deeds by very powerful people. Absolutely horrific deeds. And so the question has to be asked is, when you strip all the fog and deception away so you can see reality clearly, are we living in a world that is under the secret rulership of some type of satanic elite, globalist elite? You know, when you look at the alleged planets that they worship, etc., there's a lot of allegories of satanic worship that go along with those planet worships. I'm speaking specifically of the worship of demonic entities on Saturn, the planet Saturn, or surrounding Saturn. And then there are theories, and that's just what they are, theories. A guy named David Flynn, a very well-respected Christian researcher, and he observed that in ancient Canaan, which was inhabited by the Canaanites, they worshipped Lucifer. Now, I did my own research regarding that, and I found out some very interesting things. When you trace the geographic vicinity of, for example, Mount Hermon, 200 Enochian angels, fallen angels, descended upon Mount Hermon, and those fallen angels supposedly mated with human females and gave birth to hybrid species of giants of old. And according to Flynn, and you can look at a map yourself, you see Mount Hermon, and then you see what would be the proposed geographic pathway from Mount Hermon, where the 200 fallen angels descended. How would you get from there to Canaan, the land of Canaan? And you see, you would pass through a lot of nations and cultures like Cydonia. And notice that there's a Cydonia region on the planet Mars. The planet Mars is called the Red Planet. Notice that the color red is featured in Satanic worship, and the color red is associated with the devil and Satanic worship. So you have the Cydonia region of Mars, you have the Cydonia region of the Middle East, and you have Phoenicia and the Phoenicians in the Middle Eastern area. Why is that important? Because when you keep tracing a pencil or pen on a map, there is a clear geographic pathway among these peoples from Mount Hermon to the land of Canaan. And one of the central features of this race of apparently, allegedly, non-human biological entities, in that their DNA suggests that they're Nephilim or Rephaim. Their DNA suggests that they have non-human DNA. And so the planet Mars, as well as other planets, comes up on a regular basis. You have the stone face on Mars, which now mysteriously you can't see anymore. You have other occultic geographic images on the face of planet Mars. I mean, this is mind-blowing stuff. And so you have this collective desire by some people in the human race to identify with Satan or Lucifer. They're called the Luciferians or Satanists. They practice, you know, the Aleister Crowley sex magic rituals. And these people claim to be a superior DNA strain than ordinary mankind. And they are the ones driving our societies, driving our worlds into a global government. But not just any global government, a one world government with a one world religion and a one world economic system. And echoing the lust of their father Satan, Satan wants to be God. Well, one of the big things that Satan has not been able to do is be a creator, like God was the creator, capital C. Satan wants to be a creator of men and DNA. I mean, that's what he's lusting for. And so transhumanism, helped along a lot by the Huxleys, as was the theory of evolution, helped along by the Huxleys. These theories say that random chance created man. That's a lie. Random chance did not create mankind, God did. And so you have this intention to manipulate and reconfigure and create the human race, not in the image of God, but create the human race in the image of Lucifer. Do you understand what's going on? Thus the proliferation of Luciferians. You have all this converging at the same time. You have people like Epstein, a sociopath, wanting to create his own master race. And in using his words, Epstein wants to create his own genetic master race made in his own image. It sounds like he wants to be God, doesn't it? It is. It's a signature that he wants to be like God. He wants to create a master race with DNA in his own image. This is the secret sin boiling beneath the surface. And so what do we do with this? We understand that when this talk of disclosure is far more than a minimal disclosure. All this talk of disclosure gets right down to the nitty-gritty. It gets right down to who was the original creator of the human race. And we know who that is. It's God, the creator, capital C. And was it aliens or ETs that landed on Earth by some giant mothership thousands of years ago and mated with human females and produced a non-human biological race, a transhumanist race that had counterfeit DNA? Why all the lust and craziness to create an artificial universe, metaverse, to create artificial people with artificial DNA? Why all this incredible lust to mimic and imitate God? Then play out this in your head. What's the real purpose of AI, artificial intelligence? What's the real purpose of the hive mind and the world brain? Well, it's obvious. The real purpose of AI is to create an artificial God who is all-knowing, but to do it backwards and make this artificial God a product of making it in man's image or Lucifer's image. Notice that when Bill Gates allegedly took out the patent of an invention, a genetic invention he created, notice that this invention has to do with DNA and genetics and other submolecular particles, and he calls one of the particles that he owns the patent to, Bill Gates, it's called Lucifer phase. Lucifer phase, which is a name borrowed from these deep underwater, deep sea creatures at the very bottom of the ocean that, like firefly insects, they glow in the dark. Firefly insects grow in the dark. But down at the bottom of the ocean, there are some species of tiny fish-like creatures that glow in the dark in the bottom of the ocean. And that chemical reaction that enables them to glow in the dark at the bottom of the ocean is called Lucifer phase. It's a no-brainer. Ask yourself what the obsession is with Lucifer phase. Why do you need to mimic Satan in your creation? Why? See, there's a big clue there right in front of your eyes. And then the theology behind all of this, the theology behind the United Nations, the UN, was created by Madame Blavatsky, a global occultist, and other occultists, and they created a satanic publishing house called Lucifer Trust, was the name of the UN's satanic publishing house. You can do a deep dive into the UN's website, and you're going to have to dig a little bit, but that stuff will come up. Lucifer Publishing. But some Christians and others who were in the know complained about the name of this UN publishing house. They claimed, they complained about the name Lucifer Publishing, and therefore the occult leaders changed the name to a generic alteration of Lucifer Publishing. Lucis Publishing. They changed it to Lucis Publishing because Lucis was a disguised methodology of saying you're promoting Lucifer Publishing. I mean, we're just opening the crack in the door here. Wait till we go down the rabbit hole, the proverbial rabbit hole. There are so many clues. There's so much documentation. Everything that you see happening now, one way or another, has been predicted or prophesied. Join me. I'm Paul McGuire. Visit paulmcguire.us. Pray and ask God how you can donate and contribute to this outreach as we reach people for Jesus Christ by teaching them the truth. Visit paulmcguire.us now. Watch our back in terms of rigging. Rigging is stealing. And join with us as we reach people with the light and truth of Jesus Christ. God bless you. This is Paul McGuire. Visit paulmcguire.us.